Arizona's legislature repealed the state's 1864 near total abortion ban. Now it's up to Democratic Governor Katie Hobbs to sign it into law. 3 weeks after the state Supreme Court revived the law, 2 Republican senators voted with the chamber's 14 Democrats to advance the repeal of the state's 160-year-old near total abortion ban. The Civil War era 1864 law prohibited all abortions except in cases when, quote, it is necessary to save, end quote, a pregnant person's life, carried a possible prison sentence of 2 to 5 years for abortion providers, carried a possible prison sentence of 2 to 5 years for abortion providers. The legislation clears the way for the state's 2022 15-week limit to remain state law. However, that does not include exceptions for rape and incest. So I'm going to go to my panel on this. And as a historian, you know, this goes back to 1864, during the Civil War, when slavery was still sanctioned by the U.S. Constitution and still legal in many states. I'm going to start with you, Teresa. So what are your thoughts on this law being repealed, and how did you feel when it went into effect in the first place?
I felt that, you know, the woman's voice was not being heard. I felt like men were making choices on behalf of women's rights. I felt like there was a setback. You know, I wasn't alive during the first Roe v. Wade, you know, but I am alive and kicking when the decision was reversed. And, you know, speaking to those that are, you know, in this generation, is daunting. You know, we never thought this day would come. But again, when we see these rollbacks of our rights, our voice being stripped, right, we have to look at, you know, what we do on our part for, you know, in terms of having this happen. We elected Donald Trump. We've allowed him and Republicans, extreme Republicans, to, you know, maneuver the Supreme Court. And so it's really up to us to get back on track, to take the next 6 months to look at the repeals, to look at the stripping of our voices and get it back.
Absolutely. And, you know, this was 1864. So this was before African-American men got the right to vote, which was in 1870 due to the 15th Amendment. This is before white women got the right to vote in 1920, the 19th Amendment. And you see men controlling, and some men have a need to control women's bodies. But this is, I think, is more than just about abortion rights. This is about women's health care. So Cameron, coming to you, what are your thoughts on this repeal, and what role do you think that women's reproductive rights and women's health care will play in the 2024 presidential election, and as well as the down ballot elections?
I mean, they're they're playing with fire because they're going to mess around and lose a whole slate of elections in the state of Arizona. I mean, Arizona is considered a battleground state, and it's on the path to victory for whether it's Trump or Biden. Very critical there. But we've seen how this has actually played out in 2022 and in 2023 when reproductive rights has been front and center ever since the Dobbs decision. All these various states that are trying to push really regressive, extremely restrictive laws, not just on abortion and a woman's right to choose, but also on health care, and then criminalizing and throwing doctors in jail and women in jail over. It's just it's ridiculous. But they're off on this. I mean, even Trump himself wouldn't even support this ban and say, hey, I'm not for a national ban, but states should do their own things. But he even said some of the laws that came out of Arizona are a little too strict. And if Trump thinks they're too bad, I mean, what are we doing here? So they're at risk and I say they, the Republican Party, even if this wasn't a party decision, this came through the courts, those courts are going to lose Republicans up and down the ballot from the Senate all the way down to these local elections, because we've seen how not only women will galvanize, minorities will galvanize, men will galvanize, because that is a fundamental right for a woman to choose. No matter how you feel kind of about abortion, it's still a woman's choice in her body. And then also the healthcare implications, the banning of Planned Parenthoods and clinics where women don't, it's not just to go to get an abortion, they go and get basic health care. And Arizona is a desert state, so it's not even, healthcare options are not as frequent for so many people who live in the more rural and desert areas of Arizona. So for you to limit those healthcare options and for people just to be healthy, they are at extreme risk of losing a ton of elections on the Republican side there. So absolutely.
And Donald Trump's words about taking credit for getting Roe versus Wade banned are, I think, coming back to haunt him.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.